In 2012, George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy was made president of Lucasfilm. And it was one of the biggest pieces of news in the entertainment industry, and everyone seemed excited for the future of Star Wars. The new films were set to come out with Episode 7, which brought back the legacy characters as well as introduced a whole bunch of new ones. If you are watching this video for me to bash on the Disney Star Wars era, then you should leave right now. I'm not at all a hater on the Disney era, even though they had a couple of missteps along the way. I actually enjoy most of the Disney films, minus The Rise of Skywalker, which I think is just a pile of big trash. It is terrible, a terrible conclusion to the great Skywalker saga. I think that The Rise of Skywalker is just really bad. It's not good at all, but I enjoy all of the movies previously, like Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, Solo. I like all of them. So if you're looking for me to bash Disney Star Wars, like, just get out of here, because this isn't the purpose of this video. I just want to look at the past of the Disney films of the Disney era and see like where we're at right now, because I do believe that the future of Star Wars is bright, but they made mistakes. Disney has made mistakes with Star Wars. It's not perfect currently. I got my frustrations with the franchise, especially after like Acolyte, which was just terrible. If you're looking for someone to bash on Disney, stay away, because that is not the video's intent. Overall, I am a fan of the Disney era. I like the books, I like the comics as well, and the animated shows. Episode 7, The Force Awakens, came out in 2015, and it was a box office hit and mostly a success with fans and critics. While some people thought that it was too familiar to A New Hope, others really dug the new characters and the story that J.J. Abrams set up for the next future films. I enjoyed all of the characters, Rey, Poe, Finn. I loved seeing Han Solo back. I loved seeing Leia back. Luke Skywalker, even though he doesn't speak in the film, I enjoyed all of that in The Force Awakens. Now, I do believe that the story is a little too much like A New Hope. It's probably not my main issue with the movie. To me, my main issue with the film is mostly like the world building. It's just really non-existent. There's no world building in The Force Awakens. You don't know much about the New Republic, and you don't understand why the rebels are now low. And the galaxy is in such chaos, but you don't really have any build up to it. I think that the storytelling is okay, but it should have been a lot better. I understand why J.J. Abrams had Luke Skywalker go missing, like at the very start of the movie. It's sort of like this mystery box that he likes to do, but I don't think that J.J. Abrams like knows how to answer the question that he even raises. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me why you would do something like this without knowing the answer, and it's kind of gets frustrating too. Like, you don't really know like how Maz got Rey's lightsaber, for example, in this movie, and even though she says like it's a question for another time. It's not the most well-written script, The Force Awakens, but I find it really like enjoyable. I find it really fun. It's just like could have been a great start to just a fantastic trilogy, and well, we all know how like the next two were received, unfortunately. In 2016 came Rogue One, a spin-off film on how the Rebellion got their hands on the Death Star plan. It was a movie that was plagued with production troubles, so much that Tony Gilroy basically replaced director Gareth Edwards in order to complete the film. You could tell by just watching the trailers that a lot of the movie has been reshot and retooled, and while this movie could have been a disaster, it was the best movie that came out of the Disney era. Rogue One became the second billion-dollar film from Disney, and it received major critical acclaim from fans and critics alike. Fans love the characters of Jyn Erso, Cassian Andor, K2SO, Chirrut, and Mace Balbus. In 2016, the future of Star Wars was bright. It was really awesome to be a Star Wars fan back then. The franchise was off to a great start. We had just two fantastic new films, and Rogue One is still my favorite of the Disney era. It's so dark and the characters are great. The storyline is just fantastic, and I love that it just takes place right before A New Hope and it leads into A New Hope so spectacularly. I love Rogue One. I think it's just really one of the best Star Wars films, period. And then along came 2017 with Ryan Johnson's The Last Jedi. Oh boy, here we go. Ryan Johnson directed one of the most divisive films of all time with The Last Jedi. I cannot tell you how much shit it is to read posts about The Last Jedi and just see people arguing about it so violently. And it's almost like they take it personally too, like they're personally attacked by others' opinions on this film. It's almost like mind-boggling how much, like, if you mention The Last Jedi in a conversation, people are like going insane. It's ridiculous. I am just tired of arguing about The Last Jedi. I think that there are way more important things you can do with your life than argue about the movie online, especially. It's just like completely pointless to argue about The Last Jedi anymore. It's been like more than 5 years, guys. Just give it a rest. I mean, the movie happened. You can't change anything. You can't change canon. I don't care. I like the movie personally. I think that the movie is the best out of the sequel trilogy of films. And this movie, I think, is unique. It's original. It's got like really beautiful cinematography, and I like what they did with Luke. Sue me. I like what they did with the character. I like how he sacrifices himself in the end using the force projection, and he basically dies by doing an overdose of the force, and he just like rest in peace. I think that he died a little early in the trilogy. I would have preferred that he died in The Rise of Skywalker near the end of that film. I would have liked to have seen him have confrontation with Snoke even, but I think that The Last Jedi is a pretty good, solid Star Wars movie. I really do. You can attack me on that. You can hate me on that. I don't care. I stand by that. But yeah, 2017 came and a lot of people did not like The Last Jedi. Half and half, I think. I think that's fair to say. Like, I don't think there's a majority or a minority on The Last Jedi. Like, it's a very divisive film. And I feel like both sides are just like really hating on each other, and this movie is just crazy. You want to start an argument with Star Wars fans, bring up The Last Jedi, and you'll have like the most spectacular argument. 2018, Solo: A Star Wars Story came out, and I really enjoyed Solo: A Star Wars Story. I know some people didn't. I know some people thought that Alden Ehrenreich wasn't like the right fit for Han Solo, which I disagree. I think that he is pretty great as the character, and he feels like Han, even though like he doesn't really imitate Harrison Ford. He brings his own style to the character, and I would have liked to have seen Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo in like other stuff. I don't really think that the bombing of Solo was his fault. It was mostly Disney's fault for not like keeping the budget under control and for firing Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And I feel like if they had just maybe trusted them, Solo would have probably been a better movie. I feel like the situation got so extreme that Kathleen Kennedy had to fire them, but I just don't understand why, because Phil Lord and Chris Miller are such fantastic directors, and like you sort of kind of have to trust your talent at that point. But I guess they didn't want them to like diverge from the script or write their own material. Lawrence Kasdan was too attached to the Solo story that he did, but I didn't think that it was so special that you couldn't change anything at all. It was just a weird situation, a really mishandled situation, and unfortunately, like, Solo was bombed. It flopped hard and made only 394 million worldwide, which is unfortunate because that movie is actually pretty good. Could have been better. I thought that it was a solid film, much better than the film that precedes it. And also, like, people are wondering why it flopped, and I think that it was because Solo just came out after a very divisive film, The Last Jedi, and fans probably just didn't want to see Solo. I feel like the release date was just too close to The Last Jedi. Some people were also not interested in seeing a Han Solo movie without Harrison Ford. That's possible too. There's just many factors as to why Solo flopped the way it did. In 2019 came The Rise of Skywalker, and I'll restate in my opinion on this. I think this movie is dog shit. J.J. Abrams took the helm once again to finish out the trilogy, and in hindsight, you can kind of think that this was a good choice because he did a good job, in my opinion, in The Force Awakens. But I don't think that J.J. Abrams know any of the answers to the questions that he raises, and so the answers that he comes up with in this movie are not even answers. They're just like more mystery boxes, and they just really don't make sense. Nothing in this movie makes sense. You just think about it, and it's really frustrating to watch because as a fan of Star Wars, you're just wondering how on earth could they have done this? It doesn't even make any sense. And I know this trilogy is blamed for the no planning part of it all, and I agree with that, but you could have still salvaged this trilogy, I think, if they had made a good script, a good story. I think that the original trilogy was made without a plan, and that worked. If they had stuck the landing without a plan here, nobody would have bitched that there was no plan for this trilogy, but that didn't happen. They did not stick the landing. It was an awful film filled with plot holes, and why did you have to bring back Palpatine? It just raises too many questions. It's like bringing back Sauron in a fourth Lord of the Rings movie. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it, and I don't think even J.J. Abrams understood it because it's not even explained throughout The Rise of Skywalker. Thankfully for them, not for us, but for them, The Rise of Skywalker was just a big success, and it made $1 billion worldwide, just like the previous two. I think that there was the diminishing returns on every installment after the Force Awakens, because the Force Awakens made $2 billion, but I think some people didn't like The Last Jedi, and then a lot of people didn't like The Rise of Skywalker, and here we are. Here we are, almost 7 years later without a Star Wars movie. It's insane. You really can't mess things up more than this, because you had a great start, but the finish line was just so badly handled by Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, that people were just tired of Star Wars until they saw The Mandalorian Season 1. Thank God that came out the same year. The Mandalorian came out in 2019 and was created by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. The first season came out critical acclaim. Everybody was united on the first season of Mandalorian, and everyone thought that it was fantastic. I loved it. I thought that it was such a really fresh take on the Star Wars universe, and it was much needed after the disaster of that last movie. Thank God that it happened the same year, because I would have been really bummed, but thankfully we had The Mandalorian. And yeah, it was just a fantastic show. I love the character of Din Djarin, and Baby Yoda was such a surprise that it took everybody by storm, and it was this really well-kept secret twist too that nobody saw coming. Yeah, fantastic first season, and I really enjoyed the finale as well. Overall, just a really fun season of Star Wars, one of the best Star Wars things that we've ever had, and I really enjoyed the first season of Mandalorian. After Clone Wars Season 7 came Mandalorian Season 2, which was just even better than the first, in my opinion. It was great to see the animated characters turned into live action, like Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. Both characters were done super well, and of course we have Luke Skywalker coming back at the end of the season. It was just fabulous. I love Mandalorian season 2, and I love seeing Boba Fett back as well. It's kind of like a greatest hits almost of Star Wars, but to me it doesn't really bother me because Star Wars has always been that. Like, I don't really care if you bring back like Han Solo or Leia and these things because it's Star Wars. Like, I don't mind. It's just I find it silly when like people just say like no more Skywalkers. Really? It's like you've just had 9 movies with them. Why no more? I just never understood that complaint. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm reading the comics right now and Luke and Leia and Han is in them and I enjoy seeing them again, so why not bring them back? I don't understand that argument. I find it silly. We've had the Book of Boba Fett. Like, here's the thing with the Book of Boba Fett. I don't hate it, and I don't love it. I think that there are good parts in it, but there are also very weak parts in it as well. Like, it's almost like the Obi-Wan show, the Obi-Wan series. I feel like it was very uneven. And like, there are at least 2 episodes, I think, in Book of Boba Fett that doesn't really feature the character of Boba Fett, and that's just really weird. It doesn't make any sense. But having said that, like, From a Desert Comes a Stranger is one of my favorite hours of Star Wars ever. It's just fucking fantastic. I love that hour of Star Wars, and for that I like enjoy the Boba Fett show. I thought it started stronger than it finished. The like the middle section with like the biker gang everybody makes fun of, I agree, is kind of ridiculous. It doesn't belong in Star Wars, and I think that Boba Fett should have been a criminal rather than like this savior. It feels out of place. It doesn't really feel quite earned, I think, is like the word. I liked his flashback scenes in like the Tusken Raider camp. I love that. But like the rest of the series is a bit wonky, like with the flashbacks and the way it's executed. It's just fine. I think it's fine. I even have a poster right there behind me. Now, like I said, I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with Book of Boba Fett. It's just the execution, and I don't like that they reunited Din and Grogu in that series instead of Mandalorian season 3. Next up is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought, like I said, was uneven, like Book of Boba Fett. To me, like, the show was good enough. I liked seeing Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back here, even though, like, I wanted more Hayden Christensen, and I even wanted more McGregor, which is weird, because, like, on Obi-Wan Kenobi show. But we had, like, too many Inquisitors plot lines. I sort of like the character of Riva, but there are just way too much like inconveniences with her, and her storyline feels forced. It really does. I like seeing young Luke and like Owen and Beru, and I like all that stuff. I just feel like the production should have been the movie. This series should have been a movie. It was so stupid that they made it a Disney Plus show, and take out the Inquisitor stuff. You don't really need it. Like, it just made the series like just feel kind of rushed. I didn't care for the Inquisitor stuff in Obi-Wan, to be quite honest with you. My favorite Disney Plus show is Andor. Andor was absolutely fabulous. I absolutely love that show. It is incredible. The writing is phenomenal. The acting is just superb. Everyone in Andor is terrific. And I really don't like it that Dave Filoni doesn't like the Andor approach, because it is the best thing that Star Wars has made since Empire, maybe. It's just fucking fantastic. I feel like Dave Filoni has too much control now over like the live action division. I love that they focused on small things like everyday people and not just Jedi and Sith, to really make you feel what it was like to live under the Empire's rule. They really fleshed out the characters and the world of Ferrex on both sides to get you invested in them. The writing here is absolutely wonderful, and there are several speeches that will make your heart stop. I have not loved something the Star Wars universe as much as Andor since the original trilogy, and I cannot wait for season 2. And next up is The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, The Mandalorian Season 3, I think, is just fine. It should have been a lot better, and I think that, like, reuniting Din and Grogu, like, in the Book of Boba Fett, really hurt the show. It really did. Like, you should have reunited them at the beginning of Season 3. It just didn't make any sense to reunite them in, like, a separate series. It felt like they were almost contractually obligated to be there. It didn't feel right for the story. It felt like they had to be there, and I don't like the fact that they were there from the start of Season 3. It took away, like, a lot of, like, the emotional impact of the series. It really did. And so, yeah, the Season 3 was fine. It just had many episodes that not a lot of stuff happened, and, like, what happened with the Darksaber was just really uneventful. Like, you're expecting this big duel, and, like, it doesn't really happen. It's just like, here, take the Darksaber. You're like, just what? Are you fucking serious right now? Just take the Darksaber? That doesn't make any sense with everything you set up in Season 2. It's just, it really angered me. Like, Season 3 of Mandalorian angered me, and I don't care, like, the reason. You should have seen Pedro Pascal's face more. He should have, by now, just take the helmet off. Like, it feels like they just don't want to pay Pedro Pascal, like, just so that he can show his face, but that's not how you write a good story, Lucasfilm. It feels very, like, redundant at this point. Ahsoka came out next, and I liked Ahsoka, but mostly because I liked all the characters involved. It wasn't really because of the writing. The writing was quite, like, mediocre, to be honest with you. I didn't think that Dave Filoni did a great job on the writing that season. A lot of the character moments felt off, and I didn't really dug the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine, and just, it felt kind of forced. And I liked seeing Ezra again, and I liked seeing Thrawn again, but they didn't explain anything. They didn't explain what happened to them during the time they were stuck on Peridia. It just didn't make any sense. It felt kind of sloppy, to be honest. I wished I enjoyed Ahsoka more, but it really felt like it should have been animated instead. It doesn't like the Endor approach, because it is the best thing that Star Wars has made since Empire, maybe. It's just fucking fantastic. I feel like Dave Filoni has too much control now over, like, the live action division. He should step back, because I don't think that he's that good of a writer, or he's that good of a director while he's directing live action. He's much better while making, like, his animated stuff. He's probably not going to go back doing his animated shows, because, like, probably live action is more important. I would agree with that. And lastly, after Ahsoka came The Acolyte. The Acolyte was just dog shit. It was really a terrible series, and it pains me to say that, because I was really looking forward to The Acolyte. I was looking forward to know more about the High Republic era. I love the books. The books were phenomenal, and the show simply did not deliver. Leslie Hanlon was the wrong person to tackle this show. She was not a strong writer, and she did not have strong writers on that show, unfortunately. And you can tell, because the show breaks canon. I don't care what, like, hula hoops you want to do. It broke canon. There was not supposed to be any Sith around that time, and it's just so stupid. The twin storyline was idiotic. I hated the Witch Coven, and the character of Quimir was cool, sorta, but he didn't belong there. Like, you should have made the show about Darth Plagueis from the start. Don't show him at the end. Show him from the start. And it's so stupid the way that they showed Yoda at the very end, too. Like, it doesn't feel earned at all. Like, Yoda should have been there from the start. Where the hell was he? You didn't even explain that. And like, Saul was my favorite part of the show. Like, I'd give the series that. Like, Saul was awesome. Like, I like the Jedi Order, but I don't like that they sort of turned them into, like, criminals, sort of. Why do they keep turning Jedis into, like, bad people? It really just pisses me off. Jedis are supposed to be guardians of peace and of the old republic. Like they're supposed to be like heroes. I just don't understand why they're trying to make them so evil. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if Lucasfilm thinks that The Acolyte is high quality storytelling, then I am really afraid for the future movies of Star Wars. Now, I would have liked them to at least come out and say, yeah, The Acolyte was a misstep. We just really thought that we had something special and it just didn't work out. Like, why not admit that? Like, it makes me feel better as a fan than you just making excuses for me not liking The Acolyte. Like, they're just blaming the fans because there were people of color involved and like their race and ethnicities, and like, sure, there are fans like that, but I don't think that was the majority of fans. Like, I think the majority of fans didn't like The Acolyte because it just didn't do it for them. It was a terrible show, and I think that it's really just too bad that Lucasfilm can't take any responsibility on their shoulders. Next up is Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is the last Disney Plus show as of March 13th, 2025. The last Star Wars show that has been released as of now, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, I thought was good enough. It wasn't like incredible or anything. I just felt like the creators had taken some other script and they had just like changed a couple of things around and put the Star Wars name on it. Like, it really felt like that. I don't love it when kids are the focus of a story, to be quite honest with you. Like, I like Stranger Things, but other than that, I'm not like super excited for kids protagonists. I prefer when my stories are set with adults as the leads, or like at least young adolescents. But here I thought like the acting was good. Jude Law is very good and he has good chemistry with the kids. And I liked the adventure enough. Like, I liked it fine. I didn't think it was fantastic or anything, but I didn't hate the show. It was much better than Acolyte. And yeah, sometimes it just didn't feel like Star Wars, which is like the biggest drawback of Skeleton Crew in my opinion. I hope that Mando and Grogu is good. I hope that the Rey movie is good. I hope that the James Mangold Force movie is good. I have high hopes for Andor Season 2. I really think that that is going to be special. And I think that is going to save the Star Wars universe. Because right now, it doesn't really feel cool to like Star Wars anymore, does it? Like, it feels kind of just a universe that's there, but people don't love it as much as they used to, like, before the Rise of Skywalker. I think that's because there's not really any new movies out, and I think that that's a part of it. There's been too many shows. Like, the past 5 years of Star Wars have been rough, and we're sort of seeing the repercussions of that, but I think that there's still hope for the future. I think that Kathleen Kennedy needs to be replaced. I think that the whole team should be replaced. I don't think that Filoni is the right person to handle the live action division of the franchise. I think that he should be gone, and I think that Kathleen needs to be gone. Bring in fresh blood that love Star Wars. I mean, like, I bet there are thousands of people that would like love to be in their place and would make a much better job. We're still gonna get like bad projects, even though Kathleen's gone. We would still get bad projects, and I think that Filoni could still work at like the animation department. I think that would be perfectly fine for somebody like him. But for Kathleen, I prefer like her to be just gone, with, especially with all the directors that she like mismanaged over the years, and like all the people that were fired off the projects, and all the projects that just didn't happen. I mean, like, there are a lot of them, and I think there are like 18 of them or something, like some crazy number that you just really can't believe that she let all these people go just because they probably had like little disagreements. And I don't know if it was that all the time. Like, probably they had like major disagreements, but you sort of have to be on the same page of the people you hire before you hire them. Like, I think that's really the way you should make business. Don't hire somebody just because they're a good director. Hire them because they want to direct the movie you want to make and the story you want to tell. It's just like filmmaking 101 right there. Um, just don't hire people because they're hot and you think that they're gonna make a good movie. It's bad business. Just hire somebody that wants to direct the story you want to tell. That's it, and go from there. Like hope that Lucasfilm has learned its lesson with like, the sequel trilogy, and I hope that they're gonna make many plans moving forward with the franchise. Kind of like the books. I think the books have been really great so far, even though I don't think they're canon. The books have been amazing. The comics have been good. So yeah, do like the High Republic books. Make a plan, stick to it, and see how it works out. Like do a trilogy of movies, do 6 films. I don't care. Just have a plan, have a solid plan, and have an exciting story to tell. Kind of like The Mandalorian season 1 and 2. I think there is reason to be optimistic about the future of Star Wars, even though it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to satisfy everyone because like it's such a legacy franchise nowadays that it's really tough to satisfy people. But I have hopes. I'm still going to be a Star Wars fan until probably the day I die. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the current state of Star Wars. Let me know what you think. Even though I know I'm not going to like everything, I'm gonna be making a few more videos like this one in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna talk about the current state of Star Wars animation as well as the comics and the books. So look forward to that, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'm still gonna be a Star Wars fan until probably the day I die. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the current state of Star Wars. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time.